Welcome back to Holiday Hot Takes. Let's get to it. The Mixer 5029. No one has been able to fill in the space Coop772 left upon retirement. Surprised I only saw one of these. I know anytime it's brought up, a lot of people weigh in. That's definitely, I'm going to say this is a hot take because should someone have replaced Coop772? I mean, think about it. If everyone tried to copy the style exactly, then they would just be a Coop772, stand-in, like, oh, you're trying to do what Coop did. You're trying to copy someone else's style. And I'm not saying that that necessarily is a bad thing. I mean, if the style and the format of his review videos were good, then we should aspire to create a similar kind of like flow to a review video. And guess what? Even Coop didn't do reviews perfectly. Blasphemy, dare I say it out loud. Like, there's always room for improvement, and there's always going to be different spins and twists on things. Coop excelled in doing some things, like in his own way, but there are definitely things that he could have improved on, and other people, I would argue, do even better. And why am I being so vague about those? Because I don't want certain people to get attacked just because I said this person does better than Coop. I'm not saying that I do, because I don't think I do. Except, I can give you game reports from when I use stuff out on the field against other people, and I don't think Coop was able to do that for years before he kind of called things quits. He did before, just didn't recently. Don't at me. So I think it's okay that no one officially replaced Coop's review style because it was just his going to one person for a review of a certain blaster is a little short-sighted. Everyone should kind of like look around and get a few different opinions. Someone's gonna like a blaster for one thing that appeals to them, and someone else is going to really hate it because of one just little feature that bugs them about everything. And it's your job to weigh through kind of those facts and opinions and then make the right choice. V1. Scripted Nerf wars are cool and are great for bringing people into the community as long as they are well done and are not content farm / childish videos. I agree. I think that might be a hot take for some people, but I wish it wasn't so hot. I think that many people will ignore the fact that some of these channels that do scripted gameplay, let's say just the obvious ones like Aaron Esser, PDK Films, like yes, there's obviously a very different style to those videos. There's a very different production level. And yes, sometimes you'll see things that no one would ever use in their right mind, and you see them working perfectly because they took a few takes and they got the shot that they wanted. But at the same time, it exposes people who would never be finding Nerf to Nerf, and I think that's a great thing. Yes, they will learn which blasters are good and which ones are not. If they happen to just impulse buy one of those things, or they ask their parents to buy a certain blaster that ends up not being great, that is unfortunate. At the same time, their curiosity is piqued and they will then find better ones, whether it's just because they went to the store, see it on store shelves, or they start searching more for a better blaster, best Nerf guns of 2022, and then they're like, oh, hey, wait, what is this? Who's this? And they just fall down the rabbit hole if they really go that direction. So I think they create a good positive awareness, unless exactly they are just weird content farms that have no heart behind them and are very strange. Those exist. Be careful of those. You can respect the people who put effort into their work, but there are some other ones that are just, let's say, they are explicitly made for children. And they're disturbing, even to me. Jabo9980. Nerf Ace of Spades is the best Nerf gun for Russian roulette. Hot take, blasphemy. The Nerf Maverick wants a word. I have not actually gotten to play with an Ace of Spades yet. What I have seen, I can see the argument for the Ace of Spades being a good Russian roulette style revolver. You put one dart in and play with it responsibly. But the Maverick always worked. Like, yeah, you can, you don't even need to do the drop cylinder mod, or make it come out a little bit further. It still is enough. You can spin the Maverick pretty well, assuming it's not really, really old. Even the Spectre, I mean, that's a 5-round capacity from 6. That one spins really well. I'm not a huge fan of the Spectre compared to the Maverick, but it's an option. There's so many other cylinder-fed blasters, not even from Nerf, that you could play that little game with. I don't know if you need to spend $50 just to get the most effective, accurate blaster for that game. Sofa Pop. Foam weapons like the Zombie Strike 1s or N-Force were one of Nerf's greatest ideas. Each and every game having safe melee weapons would have been so fun. Not a hot take in my opinion, but absolutely correct. I think going back to classic Nerf foam is a great idea. If they had made more Nerf style weapons that, you know, kind of harken back to the original, like, oh, Nerf is a foam toy and it's safe, that's great. Obviously, as we got through the years, they became a little bit harder, like an N4 sword is not as soft as the original Nerf ball, and it definitely doesn't do it all. But like, you know, they were fun, they were cool, they made some cool things, like the axe. They should have done more tie-ins with that stuff too. The Vendetta sword, yeah, I love my little like Stonewall sword and shield, which I don't have the shield, but I love the little dagger. That's like a great thing to use, and it's light enough where I can get away with sometimes tossing it, and no one's banned me yet. So 100% agree. They're not gonna do it, I don't think. Very sad. Extra reason, bolt and lever action is underrated. So is Jolt Action. Bolt and lever action, okay, this comes up a lot, I think. I don't know if they're underrated. Like, bolt action exists in so many things. Okay, maybe explicitly when people say bolt action, like realistic, sure. It isn't as prevalent. Is it underrated though? Maybe. That could be a hot take. Lever action is underrated. I think anyone who sees lever action is like, that's really cool. So I disagree. I don't think lever action is underrated. Jolt action. What? Do you know how many blasters from Nerf, from other companies, use that Jolt Action method of just a pull down, catch, and then fire nowadays? So many. So that's a hot take because it's completely wrong. That is not underrated. That is just so overdone at this point. It is very unoriginal. Your Fox friend, Nerf needs to bring back Koosh. That's a very hot take because, like Koosh Vortex? You mean the brand that isn't under Nerf's umbrella? Can someone please correct me if I'm wrong? But they didn't make that, did they? I mean, we kind of put it into the same category, like we take Boomco and call it Nerf sometimes, and we take, you know, all the other brands and call it Nerf. So yeah, get on that, Hasbro. What are you doing? Bring back Koosh Vortex. Oni Armory. Paint on one side of the blaster is worse than no paint on the blaster at all. Ooh, that is a hot take. I'm not sure if I agree. I think in some cases, having at least paint on one side looks good to present, and that is worth something. But it is annoying. I'll fully agree that it's annoying when that happens, that they don't put paint on both sides. A lot of companies are now just using, like, you know, different pieces, and then those are painted, or they're different colors. So you don't actually end up needing as much paint because the blaster's kind of color pops from just different pieces assembled, and it looks the exact same on each side as a result. But I don't know, there's something about paints that can make things pop. I think some people will, yeah, ultimately agree or disagree with this one. From Zuru Longshot is overrated. Gee, I wonder if we're gonna get a comment speaking to that in the future. Rampage is greater than Alpha Trooper. Oh, here we go. That's a hot take already, let's go. Better prime, smoothness and grip, side loading, more reliable feeding, and big drums don't get in the way on the prime. Sturdier internals. I think I have to disagree with this one. There's some good points by the end about, like, oh, the drum doesn't get in the way for, like, you know, some of those blasters comparatively, but like, that's if you just use the drum. What about like regular stick magazines? Sturdier internals, I guess, like, technically, yeah, the Rampage came out after the Alpha Trooper, so the internals were better at that point. Asterisk, need source. But I'm gonna disagree overall. I don't think that the Rampage was better because people literally called it the Jam Page, and it was just notorious for that, like, first wave of elite blasters to be the most jam worthy out of all of them. The Alpha Trooper, not saying it was perfect, but I don't recall it being like as bad comparatively. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm having a selective memory moment, but yeah, I don't know if I can agree with that one. That's definitely a hot take.